First, I'm going to open by telling you that everything is going to be fine. This channeling is for somebody who feels like they're surrounded by an energy of chaos. You know, there are things you know and there are things you don't know, okay? And you've made an effort to create some semblance of order in your life. But this energy of masculine structures, fracturing, chaos in the air, okay? You don't really have evidence of chaos, but it's in the air. It's sensed. Just this feeling of what am I supposed to do next? That kind of feeling. Also wondering whether what you're doing is in order. It feels a little bit like a sense of confusion that you can't clearly justify. And so you're sort of moving with caution, not stopping, but not ignoring this sense that if things, the way we've known them to work, no longer work that way, you kind of want to feel like you're reacting responsibly, preemptively. You know, you want to approach this with a sense of caution. You're also not sure whether the outcomes you expected should remain the outcomes that you've always desired. Lots of question marks. I actually just saw lots of question marks pop up, you know, in my own cloud. I wanted to start with that so that we're clear on who I'm speaking to. This channeling feels like it has an existential sort of crisis air around it. And so please listen with discernment. If it doesn't resonate, please don't force anything to fit. This channeling isn't about answers. This channeling feels like it's about not necessarily how to cope, but how to manage through this energy, okay? This channel in general is not about answers. This channel is about, its purpose is to inspire you to have the courage to do the work, to clear up your own channel so that you can have more confidence in receiving your own direct information, especially with things changing so much the way they are at the moment, okay? On a very foundational level is how I want to put it. I feel like you won't have any certainty coming from anywhere outside of you, okay? And this sense, I see it growing. I see this sense of not being able to rely on any external validation, direction as growing. Why do I say that? We are surrounded by many channelers in this world and also a lot of changing circumstances, a lot of things, okay? Things are shifting. As things shift, even those who seem really confident move through crisis. That means they will continue to channel. Let me not exclude myself. We will all continue to channel because this is what we love to do, all for different reasons. Okay, but the point is, at least I can reassure you that my purpose here on this channel is to connect with you and to give you more confidence to pursue your relationship with your own channel. Nothing is going to feel more true to you than that. Okay, and I share this truth that I have to share with you with a lot of certainty. I feel it. I have 44355 on the clock. I showed it on the screen. What this is actually telling me is that this sense of reality is one that you reach at this depth. And so this is not actually necessarily, this is strange for me to share this. This channeling and this time that you find yourself in, okay, remembering that time is a man-made construct and to a level an illusion, okay? And I'm finding we're needing to find ways to exist within this 3D structure and within ourselves, okay? They're interrelated, forever and deeply linked. However, escaping into either is not the answer, okay? This number is saying that this sense of reality is due to the depth with which you have met yourself, okay? That's why you're awakened to this form of reality and even aware of this sense of reality, okay? And the need to stay in balance within yourself without detaching from the changes is going to become and feel increasingly important. Please excuse me if my words sound jagged. It's just the way it's coming out, okay? And with that said, as you proceed and as you progress, this is now I'm on the 5-5, as you proceed and as you progress, you are going to, I'm almost seeing like a monkey swinging from branch to branch. The ability to regress it starts to become like it's not possible, okay? And the ability to stay where you are also feels like you can't do that. And so then you're dealing with the tension of moving forward and catching on to the next swing to progress or proceed. And that's where you're needing clarity on which branch to choose, okay? Because you can't stand still, you can't go back, so you have to go forward and you want to go forward right, okay? In alignment is what I've been corrected to say. And so what I'm actually getting is that this idea of staying in the present, it remains true. However, in this moment where you are refocusing on being in the present is being challenged, okay? It's being challenged on ideas around like sustainability. Can I really stay in the present all this time? Because now staying in the present and taking action, these are like conflicting sort of instructions. Do you know what I mean? It's very important to use your discernment with this reading. If it's not resonating, please do not force it to fit. I don't wish to confuse anyone. Before I opened this container, I heard the words clearly. What I heard was, you cannot stop the inevitable. You cannot stop the inevitable. You can only change the inevitable. Okay? And so when I interacted with that first lot of words, it felt somewhat like a dead end. But as it opened, I started to understand. And then what they showed me, and I had to look up what this thing is called, but it's swing ball. But they showed it to me like in one's hand. So usually you take swing ball, it's also called tether ball. I found that word today. You stick it in the ground and it's a pole and it has a string attached to the top of the pole and a tennis ball at the end of the string. And basically it swings round and round. But what they were showing me was this pole in your hand. Okay. And it's being swung around. This vision is starting to clarify for me. It was being swung around. Then as I interacted with the game of tetherball itself, what they're showing me is this pole in the ground and you are holding the racket and you are hitting the ball. Okay. And the question I asked was, how do you maintain momentum while playing tetherball? And not just maintain momentum, build momentum is what I asked. And I found it says, to build momentum in tetherball, focus on sharp, powerful hits at the ball's highest point to increase its speed and trajectory. Okay, so that's telling me that, as we consider this, you cannot stop the inevitable. That's to say, when you freeze while playing swing ball, the ball will fall, okay? It will be dropped. Whereas you can focus on hitting each ball as it reaches you, okay? With sharp, powerful hits at the ball's highest point. That is to say, with every time you hit this ball, which is taking action on something, your reaction to whatever you're doing, taking a decision, taking an action, making a move, whatever it is you're doing, whether it's internal or physical, this is whatever you're doing. Remember, I'm speaking to somebody who isn't sure how things are working and what is changing, what is shifting, and wants to maintain their momentum without making any wrong moves, okay? And so this is about keeping this ball in the air, okay, irrespective of perhaps what speed it hits you at or direction, okay? Sometimes this is just even your own ball. It's just what you're doing, okay? However, unexpected things will happen. And so to say sharp is like to be decisive. And I'm going to get back to like actually what anchors all of this is to be decisive, sharp. Okay, so you know where you're headed. Okay, this is the grounding aspect that I'm going to come back to. And at the ball's highest point suggests that this is about staying in alignment with what's grounding you, what's anchoring you. Okay, so now I'm going back to the grounding aspect. Let's call this your point of departure. What they explained to me, and they explained it clearly. I'm just in the process of recalling it now because this is a lot of information since I opened this container, and I felt like I opened with nothing but questions, but now I'm getting clearer. They said that it's very important, okay, to get clear on your utmost priority in terms of what you want. So far, what you want has had a lot of circular references incorporated in it. What does this look like? You say you want X, okay? But then you start drawing out all of these possibilities that could result from pursuing X. And so now X expands into Y, Z, F, G, H, okay? And the challenge with that is that each time you direct your vision, it gets split, it gets scattered. All these permutations are scattering your focus. And so they're saying you are over considering all these permutations of what could result, and all of these permutations carry different vibrations. And so you are scattering your vision. You're not focused. When you consider what your focus is, okay, what your anchor is going to be, go to the thing you want the most. Go to the thing you want the most. This is not the thing you have over-attached to that is dependent on another person to execute whatever it is that needs to. This is not something that you're being asked to outsource. This is not an outsourced desire that we're referring to. We're talking about someone who's playing tetherball and taking hits, making decisions, taking action, and trying to build momentum. And that's what we're talking about. So we're not talking about someone who's waiting for something to land with them. Naturally, you are expecting something to land with you, but that is not the action. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And so they're calling you back to your desire, what you want. Something empowering, the most empowering aspect of it. And something that feels true. So, for example, I enjoy, okay, because now we're talking about something you're pouring yourself into. I enjoy doing ABC. And as I do ABC, ABC being the thing that keeps me feeling like I'm in the present moment. this thing that I love, this thing that I find most empowering when I sit in presence, or the thing that keeps me in presence. Let's use that as an example. With my goal and objective being, I want this to grow. And now this thing that you want, let's say this thing that you want to grow is something that your heart desires, okay? It's something your heart truly desires. This is not something you need to work, like you need. And even if you need it to work, that is the aspect that you're releasing, okay? Because we're not going to cling to the need, the desperation of it. We're not going to cling to that, because that is removing our focus from the presence of the action that we can take. We are clarifying, okay? You are clarifying what you are going to do that makes you feel like you're in the present. Okay, so that is actually expanding that space where you are in your most optimal vibration. Okay, so this is you using this pocket of time, spending this time and this energy well, because your objective within this energy is clarified. Okay, it's not scattered with the results and the results of the results. Okay? They're saying that it's very important to get clear on what you want. It's alignment to what you want, so that you're clear, so that literally as you enter the space, you are clear what you want and you can release it, so that you're not getting clear on what you want and then scattering it. Does that make sense? And so that means that as the ball returns for you to hit it, you're aiming high, you're aiming for the highest result, okay? But you already know that it's coming back at you. And so you're not actually focusing to see whether it lands in that result, because the result is not within your control. Once you've hit the ball, that ball is going to return somewhere or other, but it's not going to return for you to hit it with the same sort of approach. It's just going to come back, and then you're going to sort of have regenerated your focus to the next ball. Okay? And so you to put this more simply, so that even I understand it, we are always aiming for our highest potential. Okay? We are not aiming for the highest potential of others. You're aiming for the highest outcome and the highest potential, but you are not clinging to the result of your action against that potential. You are already on to the next one. Things are moving quickly. And each time the ball returns, the circumstances feel like they've shifted. And so you're not focusing fully, when you're in that present moment and hitting the ball, you're not focusing fully on the circumstances. The challenge is that in-between space between the balls. Okay, that in-between space where you're dealing with the 3D between the balls. Because that between space, a lot of thought happens in that between space. Okay, that space in between. A lot of thought happens, and focusing and grounding the desire, okay, so that the desire can now be released because it's clear, clarified, and not scattered. Focusing it means that your thoughts around what can be done are stronger than your thoughts on what cannot be done, because that cannot be done is what is slowing the momentum, because then the ball is dropping as it returns, because your focus is on the last ball where it's landed instead of the present ball that's coming at you. And so returning to the words that I received, you cannot stop the inevitable. You can only change it. These are very empowering words, because they're actually saying that you are creating the inevitable and the timing around the inevitable. It's empowering because when we sit too long considering the rules of the game and whether the rules of the game have changed, We are essentially now going back to dealing with what the rules were, what the rules are, what the rules are going to become. What I'm referring to by rules, I'm referring to our existence, the rules of the game. And the truth of the matter is that the game is changing. The game is changing. I'm saying that because this is what is being sensed. This is what is being sensed. However, to stop and evaluate what the rules are, this is such a big question around like, what is creation? How do things work? What are the rules so that you can play by the rules? Well, in a sense, we are all collectively in the process of creating the rules because the order is changing. So the rules are changing. And so to stop and reevaluate the rules is, I want to say, counterproductive and counter-progressive, because by the time you land on either giving up on trying to figure it out or figuring it out, which has anybody, by the time you get there, they'll have changed again. And so this feels like it's a form of an answer for the question, how do you stay in the present when the present is changing? This also feels like somewhat of an answer to the question, I suppose it's a similar question, the same question that we've been asking, but how to stay in alignment, okay? What is the right move? What is the right move? And so to consider this pole in the ground, where you've placed it, being what you want, what you truly desire, that in itself is the strongest answer of how to stay in alignment, okay? Because your heart won't lie. Again, listen with discernment, because again, I'm speaking to somebody who, I just almost want to say, if you've understood me this far, you understand what I've said, okay? And that statement is not to alienate anyone. It's to say that you're welcome to return to this when my words can easily sink in, okay? They can easily sink in, or when they feel like they're answering the question that you had. This energy can feel very mentally and emotionally disempowering. It can. That's what brought me to this container. However, with this information, one is able to recognize that we are moving into an even more empowering time than what we used to. Why? Because there is no time to focus on the rules, okay? There is actually the rules, the idea of the rules is actually like a vortex. It's like a vortex. Look at that number on the clock, 2332, 23. It's as if every time you're looking into the mirror to find an answer as to what balances, it's already flipped. And then it's flipped back. It's like flipping back and forth. But if you look at it another way, if you are aiming for your highest potential in the direction of what you desire the most, okay, the knowledge of that keeping your focus present, it doesn't matter which direction anything hits you at. That's how you aim. This also means that there are no rules as to what you should or are supposed to desire, because I find that question is also like one of the questions in the cloud. Am I supposed to want this? Am I allowed to want this? Maybe yesterday you weren't. Maybe now you are. Doesn't matter. If it's in your heart, it is true. And as I paused there, they took me to those words, especially the word matter. What is right or wrong does not affect matter. Your actions your desires, and your intentions are what change matter. Okay? And now to bring it back to the way I'd structured the words initially, what is right or wrong doesn't matter. Your actions, your desires, and your intentions are what matter. And I'm putting it that way to make clear my use of the word matter, because we tend to use the word matter as a matter of consequence, as a matter of relevance. However, right now, we're referring to it with it together as matter, how to actually change things. Because ultimately, is that not what you're after? You are after how to change things. And so the rule book is collectively being rewritten due to shifting circumstances, shifting reality, and shifting understanding of truth. I'm going to leave this here. I feel like I'm going to need to listen to this like 3 times, to be honest. But it feels true, because before I even approached the container, considering doing a reading, I just asked Spirit for something true. Something true. Tell me something true, please. And with that, I'd like you all to collect all of those question marks that are in the cloud. Gather all those question marks. Don't even look at them too closely. Gather all those question marks, put them together, and put them inside that ball. To every single one of you that supports this channel, thank you so much for sharing your love. Should you want to support the channel and can, you'll find details in the description box. You'll find details on in the description box below on how. Why am I stumbling on these words so much? I'm reminded of my piano teacher when I was younger, and she would just keep saying, keep going, Gontse, keep going, don't stop. Because sometimes when you make an error, you tend to think you need to stop and start again. And that's not the case. And I feel like there's a message in that. Keep going. Keep going. All of this is part of the music. Keep going. Sending you all so much love.